How's it going, everybody? So, what do we got going on in the tank today? Well, we have bubbles. Why do we have bubbles? We are doing the Chemiclean treatment. So, a little nervous about this, I'm not gonna lie. I've never done this. I know that some people have crashed their tanks doing it. Why am I doing it? Well, posted a video like 2 weeks ago, I think. As you can see, we've got a ton of cyanobacteria in here, which is what everybody told me. I've kind of battled it previously, so it's probably been in here for a long time, but I've always just been able to stave it off with some water changes and whatnot. And I don't know if you can see over here. I'll go ahead and bring the camera over a little closer, but basically, yeah, it's going crazy. I'm over it, and I'm gonna take the plunge. So I've got some bubblers here. I know that some people get much bigger bubblers. Quite frankly, between this and the protein skimmer, which I'm about to turn on, I kind of just wanted to show what it looks like in the tank without the protein skimmer on and the cap off, right? I know I've seen some people actually keep the cap on. They just let it go Richter in the collector cup. I don't think that really does the same thing, and I guess those people don't necessarily have fish in their tank or coral, I don't know. But basically, yeah, so gonna switch that on in a second. And 360 gallon tank, if it was full of just water, we've estimated that it's around 310 gallons. If you take an inch out off the top, you got the displacement from the back, displacement from that overflow back, and it's probably even a little less than 310 gallons as it is now with the displacement from all the rock, right? So I've put in 31 for 310, 31 drops of the Chemiclean into the cup that we're going to dose now, and then we're going to throw the protein skimmer on. I already fed the fish tonight, just so that way they don't have a whole bunch of micro bubbles going on with it, and I'm trying to find where all the food is. So I'll go ahead and show you guys what it's going to look like. I'm going to go ahead and put most of it in here, but I'm also going to put some in here too. And I am not taking my Chaeto out. I'm going to keep the Chaeto in there. There's no indicator that it should affect the Chaeto based off everything that I've read. In fact, it'll probably help the Chaeto out because there's a bunch of crap that grows down there that maybe that's where it likes to pond up. So I'm also, it may sound a little louder, I don't know. The microphone might be canceling out the decibels from it, but may sound a little louder just because I've got the filter sock silencers off right now, and as we saw in the previous video, it's about 10-15 decibels that those things knock out, which is awesome. As a side note, something we're going to have to do on a separate video is there's something going on with the drain and the main return drain. After I put in the L2 pump, I've kind of been keeping it around 37% power, and that's apparently now too much. It didn't used to be, but it's now too much. I checked out the drain, pulled it out, and I don't know what's going on, but for some reason the drain seemed, well, thank you, Frankie. That's Frankie the parakeet. For some reason the drain seems to be over capacity. When I pulled the drain out, it seemed to be fine, so maybe there's a blockage, not really sure, but I'm not thrilled that it's going through the emergency valve right now, the emergency drain on the main. The side tank is fine. The gate valve on the main drain is all the way open, so can't do anything else to it. So we're gonna have to figure out in the future what's going on. But without further ado, let's go ahead and do the plunge. So here we go. So putting that there. and putting the rest of the solution over here. And just a little note, I know that nobody ever really talks about it, but make sure that when you mix up the Chemipure, that you get rid of all the little blobs. Make sure that it's properly, like fully dissolved in the water, just because there's some little blobs that like to kind of develop in there, and you just don't want that stuff to not be used, right? You want to use the whole thing. So, by the way, if you're wondering what I'm doing here, you probably can't see it on the video, but there's a ton of little salt spray that's developing right here just from the air stone. I tried putting it down, I tried putting it up. It's still going to do the salt spray. So I highly recommend put some little plastic or paper towel there, just because unless you go dropping it down in here, it seems to me like air stone, regardless, as long as you're using an air stone, you're going to be getting some of this little spray. Oh, about that. So we went ahead, I had the full intent to get one of these giant air stones. That was a cool idea. This thing's massive, 8 inches. Totally would have fit down there, just let this thing rock. I selected a kit off Amazon just because I don't use these things for any reason. So I kind of figured it would be plug and play. It was not plug and play. The diameter on the hose right here did not match the diameter on this pump. So whoever put together the suggestion on Amazon needs to do a little more research on what they're trying to peddle. So I'm returning all of it. I'll show you what the pump looked like. 950 gallons per hour, 6 outlet commercial. It's like a $40 pump. This thing like another 30. I think it was like 60 bucks out the door. I was thinking that would be a good idea, but I'm a little anxious. I don't want to keep waiting. I've always had this little, ever since we were trying to raise a baby brine shrimp for the Bengai cardinal babies that we had a couple years back, had the little bubblers with an air stone, and that's what we would use for it. So this silly little tubing that came with the kit is not usable, because when you look at this guy, he comes with the proper hose, and that hose will work with this barb, but that hose won't work with either of these, so it's retarded. Anyways, hope this helps you guys out if you're going to do a similar thing and you're like, oh, I never use an air stone. I want to go ahead and use, you know, something else. Well, no, not you want to use an air stone, and you're like, well, I've got a big tank like this. I don't want to undersize the amount of air that I'm going to put in there. Let's try and get a giant one. Well, I guess just do a little more research than I did, which is go ahead and make sure you got the proper diameter for the hook, for the 2 barbs. So I'm going to go ahead and show you what the tank's going to look like now with the skimmer on. And also, because I was feeding these guys, I had the blower turned off. Alright, so we got the blower turned on now. Let's see what happens. Not really throwing around these bubbles too much. So remember, we've got the fresh air intake for the skimmer. So that's going to also help raise our pH. Alright, so skimmer is going on in a big way. So let's see what this guy does. Hopefully you guys can see it. Can you see it down there? Make sure you guys can see it. Alright, so we're going to zoom in real quick, just so you can see. So that's what it looks like. Tons of bubbles. Tons of bubbles getting into that sump. So tons of aeration going to be going on in here. We'll go ahead and speed up the video if necessary just to see what the micro bubble content is going to look like in the tank. I'll zoom back out. There we go, guys. Alright. So let's see. Yeah, there's a ton of micro bubbles going on in here. I'll bring the camera over so you guys can see it. And yeah, it's basically going through the weirs in the sump. And then yeah, so you know, it's funny, when I started doing all this stuff, I remember reading tons of stuff about, oh, you shouldn't have micro bubbles in your tank, it's going to affect the health of the coral, it's going to affect the health of the fish. Suddenly that's not a problem when people do Chemiclean, because everybody's like, oh, it's not going to affect the health of the fish, it's not going to affect the health of the coral. So people figure it out. It sounds like it's a little convenient. Verdict's out, so I'm going to be posting updates for all you guys just to show how it's going. I'm sure I'm not the only nervous guy, just because this is my baby. These are all my babies. Especially have the new Antheas in here, so I want to make sure that they're happy. And so I'm going to go ahead and zoom in just so you guys can see what was going on with all the stuff in the lagoon tank, which, you know, this lagoon tank, it's an interesting project, right? Because it's kind of a custom size, low flow. Don't know if that's going to be a possibility or not, just because the amount of the cyano that's in there, it's just erupted, right? Erupted compared to this. So much more flow in here. So I'm going to shut up, and you guys can go ahead and check out what's going on here, and stay tuned for next update. See you guys. So this is what you guys have here in the lagoon tank. I know I already said bye to everybody, but I'm back. Back like a bad nightmare. Just so you can kind of see, that's where all the flow is from the one blower, right? Get the one blower right here. So flow kind of affects it, basically on a daily basis. Every couple days I've been coming in here raking this up. So it's getting crazy. Over here, not so much, right? So you can see it's here, and but it's very manageable, I guess you could say. Some people might not even complain about it, but here's Mr. Crab. So I don't know if this is, oh yeah, you can totally see all the micro bubble that's in here. So I honestly, guys, if you just keep the top of your protein skimmer off, I don't think you need to buy one of these giant air stones. You may be fine just running your protein skimmer. I know that I've talked to multiple friends that do this, do aquarium maintenance for their trade, and this is what they do. They just take the top of the protein skimmer off and let it rip. They don't even go to the additional extent of throwing this this air bubbler in. So you know, do with it what you guys will. You know, one thing to note, guys, here, I'm gonna go ahead and see if we can't get some of the spray on camera so you can just see it. Focusing on the little paper. Yeah, I don't know. Either case, guys, you know, one thing to kind of keep a note on is, because of all that spray, keep it away from your lights. Keep it away from the lights. Last thing you want is a ton of saltwater spray going up onto those really expensive lights. Even if you got the T5s on here and you got a little removable screen, okay, fine, then you're going to do great. But if you don't have a screen on that stuff, protect your investment, because what happens, you're going to get all that salt buildup on that light, and then it's going to harden, then it's going to damage the lens. So I already have a little bit of salt creep just from when I was running it before. You can kind of see it might be a little too bright, maxing out, but either way, just another little tip. Let's see if we can show it to you guys or not. This is probably a really entertaining video for some of you guys. Alright, well, hopefully that comes out. We're filming this in 4K, so it's not going to get any better than that. So thanks for tuning in, guys. I hope this helps you out. Much shorter update coming in a couple days. Bye.